This is a story set in a world where elements of virtual gaming have merged with reality. Various new professions have evolved, and people could change their professions to gain more abilities. There were countless ruins and dungeons, numerous mysterious realms, and monsters. In turn, individuals could also obtain experience points, materials, and even equipment to strengthen themselves by hunting monsters. However, no matter how fierce the monsters were, they paled compared to that awe-inspiring existence of a mysterious yet rare, powerful entity just like a deity, dragons. Coming back to the present, in Dragon Kingdom 3rd School, the professor informs the students that the professional awakening ceremony that was going to take place today would not only affect their ability to pass the university exam, but it would also relate to their future success. Although in theory, the result of profession awakening was randomly determined, he tells them everyone must have confidence in themselves because as long as they had a strong determination, each one of them could awaken a combative profession. Meanwhile, our main protagonist, sitting in the back of the class, was getting excited as the day he had been waiting for had finally come. His name was Lu Fan, a person who had transmigrated to this world from a place called Blue Planet 3 years ago. During these 3 years in this world, he had gained a fairly clear understanding of this world. There were many kinds of professions in this world, which could roughly be categorized into 3 types. At the top were obviously combative professionals, which included warriors, mages, archers, and so on. They used powerful abilities to explore unknown realms, obtain equipment, and receive generous rewards in return. This profession was most coveted. Next up were the reinforcing professionals, such as enchanters, alchemists, and the like. They could create special items with powerful effects. However, since purchasing material incurred significant expenses, generally without the support of a large family, it was simply not possible to nurture any decent reinforcing professional. Lastly, at the bottom of the pyramid were other professions such as chefs, herbalists, miners, etc. These professions were the future for the majority of the people, and these were ordinary individuals who worked hard and strived to make a living. His aunt, Han Ki, was also a chef. She worked hard every day and was supporting his education with her small steamed bun shop. Although she was only 8 years older than him, she supported him selflessly, and he could clearly see all the hard work she put in. Therefore, in order to survive in this world and to provide a better life for his aunt, he needed to awaken as a combative professional. Just then, the professor receives a call, and he then informs the students that the awakening platform had been built and the ceremony was about to begin. Everyone quickly jumped out of their seats and headed out while the professor noticed Lu Fan still sitting in the back. So he goes up to him and reminds him that he was the top student of their section, so there was no need for him to be anxious. Suddenly, a screen opens up in front of him, and it says that the treasure map system had been successfully activated, which left him completely confused. But then the teacher once again called him out, and he quickly ran off to head to the ceremony. He was glad to see that it was finally here because there was no logic behind how a transmigrator could exist without a system. However, he still did not know what use this system had, but he decides to think about it later because right now, the career ceremony was more important. At the site of the ceremony, everyone was quite amazed to see the awakening crystal since it was their first time seeing it. As Lu Fan also arrived there, everyone was discussing how awesome it would be to obtain a hidden combative profession since those were very rare in the entire school. With that, they would become a powerful person admired by millions. The old man on the stage informs everyone that the awakening ceremony was about to begin and also introduces them to the priest who was going to be hosting this year's awakening ceremony. Looking at that priest, Lu Fan immediately felt how different the aura of a combative professional was. Witnessing such a domineering aura, he truly wished he could awaken such a presence. Just then, he gets a notification on his screen, and it says that he had acquired a new skill named Eye of Appraisal. He gives it a go, and using it, he was able to see the information of the priest on his screen, which also said that he had a net worth of 5 million dragon coins. He was simply shocked to see that. Just then, the old man orders everyone to be silent and then explains that students whose names would be called must come up to the stage. Meanwhile, Lu Fan was still thinking about the priest's net worth and thought that even if his aunt sells buns for her entire life, she won't be able to earn this much money. Zhang Tao then gets called up on the stage, and some students started to wonder if he would awaken as a combative professional since he was the top student of their section, while others stated of course he would because all of his attributes were very high, and the higher they were, the more likely one could awaken as a combative professional. The girls, on the other hand, were simply in love with him. As he walked up to the stage, the priest began the ritual, and he stood confidently in front of the crystal. A fireball formed from the crystal, and it turns out he had awakened as a pyromancer and actually became a combative professional, which made the students quite jealous, but they still admitted that he had a bright future ahead now. Lu Fan, on the other hand, was also amazed and thought that if only he could awaken as a combative professional as well, he could say goodbye to this distressed life of his. As the ceremony went on, everyone received different types of professions. Some made terms with it, while some did not want it at all, and it began to seem that combative professions were indeed in the minority, as the majority still ended up with subsistence professions. Later, after the awakening ceremony concluded in the old town of Shanghai City, Lu Fan was heading back home and just kept staring at his status window, which revealed that his profession was dragon tamer. Cut to a flashback. When he obtained this profession, his classmates felt really bad for him, as it seemed he was destined to be mediocre because, even though it was a hidden profession, when it came to practical applicability, it was the weakest. Meanwhile, another student wondered why they were calling it the weakest, since dragon tamer was one of the 3 major hidden professions, alongside the dragon blood warrior and Dovatin Vok mage. His friend explains to him that it was true. However, most people could not even find dragons, let alone tame them, so it was basically useless. The old man also tries to reassure him that it would be alright since it was a hidden profession after all, which had boundless potential, so maybe he could tame some sub-dragon species and become stronger. However, Lu Fan knew that it was simply not possible. Without a dragon, there was no way a dragon tamer could have boundless potential, and for the sub-dragon species, they were nothing but mere ferocious beasts who were nothing compared to real dragons. In the 800-year history of the Dragon Kingdom, dragons had indeed appeared. However, a dragon tamer who actually tamed dragons had never existed. No matter how powerful humans were, they were like ants in front of the dragons, and therefore, he was certain that wanting to tame a dragon was nothing but a dream. Cut back to the present, he also contemplated that as a dragon tamer without dragons, not only did he lack the ability to improve, but he could not even unlock his skills. Just thinking about how his aunt had worked hard to support his education, but now he could not even provide her a better life, made him really disappointed in himself, and then before he even realized it, he was already back home. Mustering up the courage, he enters inside, and his Aunt Han Ki welcomes him back and lovingly hugs him. She asks him if today was the most fantastic day in his life, and also about what profession he awakened. He felt really hesitant to answer that, and she immediately noticed that, so she says that it was okay if he did not awaken a combat profession, as it would have actually made her even more worried if he was out fighting every day. But then he says to her that it was not that. He had actually become a dragon tamer. However, the catch was, he could not do anything without dragons. His aunt simply smiled and hugged him, while saying that it did not matter if he was a dragon tamer without a dragon. It showed that he was truly strong, and if he could get into college in the future, she promised that she would continue to support him no matter what, and if he did not want to go to college, he could also join her in running the steamed bun shop. He remained speechless after hearing that, but then she tells him not to fret too much about it as their dinner was getting cold. Later in the night, when he went back to his room, he could not stop thinking about how his aunt was only 26 years old, and despite working in a livelihood profession for so many years, it had not changed their ordinary life. He just wanted to live a better life with his aunt, and believed that there was no way it would be out of reach just because he became a dragon tamer. He began to get frustrated thinking that if only he had a dragon tamer would really be a hidden profession, and wondered where he could go to find a dragon now. Just then, the treasure map system opens up, and it shows him that he had received a divine-level treasure map. At first he was a bit confused to see something like that on day 1, but then he remembered that it was called the Super Treasure Map System when it was activated. In the afternoon he only got to try its appraisal function, and he had not yet explored its core treasure map features. Browsing through the system, he learned that treasure maps could be classified into 4 categories: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and divine level. Using the system, he could combine 3 identical low-level treasure maps into 1 high-level treasure map. The system also told him that every day he would receive a randomly graded and randomly located treasure map, and as long as he went there, he could find treasure related to his corresponding profession. After reading that message, he started to think that it was widely recognized that dragon tamer was the weakest profession because taming dragons was practically impossible. However, as long as he could make good use of this system, he was sure that there's a chance for him to bridge the gap between the weakest and the strongest. In other words, this divine-level treasure map could be his last hope to turn the tide. If he were to give up now, he knew that he will live at the bottom of the society for the rest of his life, not to mention the disappointment to his aunt. Therefore, he absolutely needed to go. The map showed him the location of Michi Basin, which was actually not too far from the Shanghai city. All he needed to do was catch the last suburban bus at night, and he could easily arrive there early in the morning. The next day, early in the morning, his aunt wakes up and she sees a note on the dining table. The letter was obviously from Lu Fan, and he explained everything that was happening for these past few days, and that is why he was heading to meet Shi Basin, since this might be his only chance to change the fate of a dragon tamer. He requests her not to worry about him, as he would return back soon and would make sure that they have a good life in the future. As he finally arrived at the outskirts of the Meat Shi Basin, he immediately bumps into a tall guy who was accompanied by a girl. He quickly gets on his guard, but then a creepy-looking one-eyed man comes up to him from behind and asks if he would like to go together. He refuses him, but at the same time wonders if these guys could be dungeon robbers, while they continued to persist him all menacingly, stating that it could be dangerous to be alone in the wilderness at night. Judging from their behavior, he guessed that they must be stealing and robbing materials for quite a while, so dealing with someone like him was basically a piece of cake for them. But then they suddenly began to pressurize him, and it looked like they had figured it out. The big one questions him about going together, but he once again refuses them and says there was no need for that. They then further ask him if he does not understand the rules of the wilderness, as the dangers in the night were far greater than he could imagine. Since he did not have any skills at his disposal right now, he understood that he must avoid confrontation right now, so he tells them that he was a summoner and that he did not require any companions. If there was a dangerous situation, summoning elemental creatures could solve it easily. The one-eyed man then states that if that's the case, then their concern for his safety was unnecessary, and he instructs the others to get moving. Before leaving, the girl comes up to him and whispers that she hopes they would meet again someday. With that, the three of them leave, while he thought to himself that even if it was dangerous in the wilderness, it was still much safer than being stabbed in the back by a group of robbers. Just as he had thought, a life without strength was feeling just like a fleeting shadow, easily overtaken by the winds of fate. He needed to set off quickly, so he opened up the map and started following it. As he kept moving forward, he encountered a group of power horn horses of level 8. Although these power horn horses did not actively attack humans, if they were disturbed in any way, he knew that he would be no match for them, since he literally had no skills. So he decided to take a detour. However, even after taking a longer route for safety reasons, it did not feel safe at all, as he was surrounded by a bunch of giant horn antelope of level 7. Nervously, he kept moving forward, believing that he should be getting closer. But then he accidentally stepped on a frog, which made a loud noise, and all the giant horn antelopes started staring at him. They began to chase after him while he ran for his life, as he eventually succeeded in disturbing them. He quickly dives sideways while they all just continue to run forward. Seeing that he could not even handle a time a giant horn antelope in his current state, he knew that if he missed this opportunity, his fate would be terrible. Just then, the system opened up, and it said that he had arrived at the designated treasure map location. In front of him, there was a weird formation of rocks, and looking at that, he realized that this was indeed the location indicated by the treasure map clue. In the middle of that, he found a glowing egg, which was apparently the treasure that could change the fate of a dragon tamer. It was a dragon egg, and the system classified it as a black dragon egg. It was hatching, and the dragon was about to be born, but just then he heard something from the bushes. He brings out his novice cleaver, and even though everything so far had been going smoothly along the way, however, it seemed that he just could not escape the nose of a wild beast, as a creature suddenly attacked him from behind, and he managed to block it using his cleaver. The creature turned out to be a bloodthirsty gray fox, and it continued to push him back. He somehow manages to knock it back, but then the system opens up, and it shows a description of the bloodthirsty gray fox, which was apparently a level 10, and it had the ability to use a triple hit combo to make the target bleed and then recover its health through the bloodthirsty recovery ability. He did not have any skill to deal with this, so he considered stalling it until the dragon hatches, and then he could use dragon taming. However, before he could even finish strategizing, the fox quickly closes in on him to attack him. It was just too fast, and he realized that he could not stall it, but then he also got hit with its claws. Even so, he still could not let it use its bloodthirsty recovery, so he decides to deal with it when it prepares for the triple claw strike. As the fox initiated its triple hit combo, he managed to successfully block each hit, and then after it was done, he used his cleaver and stabbed it in its head before it could recover from the recoil. After killing it, he received 120 exp as a reward for finally getting rid of it. Just then, the group of robbers from before comes out from the shadows and comments that he really was impressive. He questions them if they had been following him, even though he said he did not want to join them. But then the lady says that there was no need for him to be so nervous since he was the one who deceived them, while the one-eyed man also asks him why he did not use any skills when he was injured like that, even though he clearly said he was a summoner. He kicks the fox towards them, yelling that if they want the fox, they could have, but the man simply laughs and states that he was pretty interesting. This piece of fox fur was only worth 80 dragon coins. However, what they really wanted was not this, but that egg which was right behind him. They immediately start attacking him and knock him back while the lady also closes in on him before he could even stand up again and points a dagger right at his throat, telling him not to move. The one-eyed man says to him that he had underestimated the dungeon robber's sense of smell for treasure as the big guy came back with the black dragon egg in his hands. Since they had got the treasure, the man instructed her to kill him, and while she took her time to say goodbye, it was his only chance to turn the tables as he could not let them take away the dragon egg. Suddenly, the egg hatched and something flew out of it. Having no idea what that thing was, they started throwing things at it, but it cleverly dodged them. The big guy then tries to throw a punch at it. However, it just flies right into it and immediately kills him. Terrified, the one-eyed man yells for help while Liu Fan was just shocked to see that even a newly hatched dragon could be so powerful. It was no wonder that no one could tame the dragons. The girl heard him say that, and she started questioning him if it was actually a dragon, but before she even realized, it killed the one-eyed man and was just standing there. Meanwhile, Liu Fan escapes from her grasp and he runs towards the dragon. He activates his dragon taming technique, and all of a sudden a bright light emitted. Shocked, the girl asks him who exactly he was, and he tells her that he was not just a summoner, he was a dragon tamer as the dragon was on his side now. The system also registered the Black Dragon Covenant and showed some skills that it had. The girl begged him to spare her, saying that she did not know it was a dragon egg. However, he reminded her how many people they had schemed against. He decides to send her to her comrades, and the dragon charges towards her and finishes her as well. Later, the two of them sat together, watching the sun rise, and he was just glad that it was over. He goes up to the dragon and picks it up while in his mind, he still could not believe that he truly crossed the gap between the weakest and the strongest. It was already so powerful right after hatching. He could not even begin to imagine how strong it would be after leveling up. With that thought in his mind, he hugs the dragon and states that soon, the title of Dragon Tamer would no longer be called the weakest class. But more importantly, he wondered what he should call it and started considering various names. However, the dragon started licking the wound on his hand that he got from the wolf, and then suddenly, something started to happen to it. It flew up in the sky, flames emitting around him, and then all of a sudden it transformed into a girl who also had some of the dragon's features while he just stood there in shock, thinking what on earth was going on. After witnessing that, he realized that it turns out the dragon could also transform into a human form, and she nodded in response. She also got registered in the system, and just as he had thought, as soon as he successfully tamed a dragon, all the skills were now unlocked. He then opens the status screen of the Black Dragon, and even though he had contracted just a level 1 dragon hatchling with skills like these and nearly 400 points in various attributes, he was sure that even a skilled human expert who was 20 levels higher would not stand a chance against him now. On top of that, the Bloodline Connection skill directly doubled all his attributes, and it was no wonder he felt significantly stronger after successfully taming it. Just as he had expected from one of the hidden professions, he was certain that no matter how strong a hidden profession may be, it had no chance of winning against the dragon race. Hence, without a doubt, the dragon tamer was the strongest hidden profession. But then he looks at the dragon and sees that although it could transform into a human form, it still behaved like a dragon. Yet again, he wondered what he should call it, and then considering the fact that it was a little black dragon which was born during the night, he decided to call it Xiao Yi, and she also quite liked it. This treasure hunting, although it was dangerous, proved to be very worth it for him. He then asks her if she was hungry, and her eyes lit up. So he decides that it was time to go hunt some monsters to fill her belly. Plus, they could not just go back like this. The trial had determined whether he could enter the university or not was coming soon, and he was sure many students must be trying to hone their qualifications by seeking opportunities outside. the prestigious Southern Province's top scholar and qualification for the highest education institution in the Dragon Kingdom that he used to aspire to were within reach. But even though he did not take it lightly, leveling up and mastering skills was his top priority. With that said, together with Xiao, he sets off and heads deep into Mount Shi Basin since there were monsters there that were even tastier than eggshells. As they kept moving forward, they encountered a horde of creatures that were charging towards them. These creatures were called Plains Hyena, and apparently, they were even more dangerous and tougher than the bloodthirsty gray fox. However, he thought to himself that that was for the previous him. Although he defeated the bloodthirsty gray fox, he also suffered a lot of injuries. But then, Xiao quickly flew up in the air, and he understood that she wanted to take the lead. While he thought that now, this Mount Shi Basin was no danger at all for the strongest dragon tamer and his dragon. Xiao uses her lava flame attack and begins to spurt flames out of her mouth without stopping, while she and Lu Fan continue getting a bunch of EXP for killing the Plains Hyena. Just like that, without even doing anything, he grew to level 11 while she also went up to level 3. He then says to her they should not waste their time on these small fry anymore since the big guy had been waiting for them for a long time now. From the shadows, a level 25 three-headed bloodlion emerged, and it was actually an elite boss. Typically, it would require a strong team of monster hunters just to approach such a monster. However, he now had Xiao with him, and they get ready to face it head-on. The lion unleashes a loud roar, which was also a skill of theirs, which helped them to increase their defense and attack power for a certain period. Next up, the three heads use triple flame, which gathers their fiery breath into fireballs, while Lu Fan instructs Xiao to coordinate with him so that they could interrupt its skill. He jumps up in the air while Xiao transforms back into a dragon, and she uses her mighty jaw assault to quickly charge towards the lion and bites its head, which successfully interrupts the triple flame. Lu Fan also takes advantage, and he lands a strike on one of its heads using the Dragon Fang strike, which basically helped him to unleash a powerful strike with the current weapon. The three-headed blood lion was finally dead, and as expected, elite monsters really helped to level up quickly as he was now at level 14, while Xiao grew to level 9. Just then, the treasure map system also triggers, and he receives the treasure map for the day. Seeing another treasure map, he wondered what exclusive item for dragon tamers this one would lead to. Nonetheless, together with Xiao, he decides to go treasure hunting. Meanwhile, deep within Mount Shi Basin, there was a group of 3 persons, and the girl asks her uncle if they should really let such a rare opportunity slip away, and he answers that he did not really have a choice right now. This fortuitous realm required at least 5 people to activate, and they did not have enough people to open it. Therefore, he suggested sending Miss Kai back to Shanghai City to bring more people. His name is revealed to be Sun Ji, having a combat profession of a warrior. But then Miss Kai, who also had a combat profession of a rogue, interrupts and states that this idea would not work because even with her agility, a round trip would take a day. The other lady then expresses that these fortuitous realms always appeared randomly, and although the rewards were higher than regular dungeons, they only existed for 24 hours. Therefore, a day was definitely not enough time. Her name is revealed to be Qin Q, and she was also a combat professional, but her class remained unknown. Sun Ji tries to assure her that she did not need to worry so much because with her strength, as long as she enters one of the top 10 academies, they would definitely provide her with opportunities. She replies that she knew everything he was saying already, but still, she felt that it was such a pity. Suddenly, they all sense someone nearby so they get on their guard, but it turns out it was only Lu Fan, and he tells them there was no need to be nervous because he was just passing by. Looking at his dirty look, Sun Ji says to him that this was not where a material hunter should be, but then Qin Q stops him, and she explains to him that they were from the Qin family in Shanghai City. Though she admitted that it was a bit abrupt, she still asks him if he could temporarily team up with them. He did not need to do anything, just enter the Fortuner's secret realm with them, and then after they succeeded, she was ready to pay him a reward of 100,000 dragon coins. Hearing that, he started to think that the Fortune's secret realm, where even the richest family in the Shanghai City, the Qin family, wanted to go, the final rewards must be very rare there. She further briefs him that they just needed to gather enough people to meet the requirements of the realm, while he did not need to do anything to get 100,000 dragon coins, and then Sun Ji also adds on that this kind of opportunity does not come by so easily. Lu Fan tells them that he was not very interested in the money, However, they could cooperate according to the rules. Kai questions him if he was implying that he wants to allocate the rewards in the secret realm based on performance, and he says that was precisely right. Keen contemplates that their average level was around 20 and this boy in front of them certainly looked weaker than them, which left her wondering if he was just confident in himself or he was just an arrogant guy. Nonetheless, she tells him that since he wants to cooperate, they could team up in a cooperative manner, and on top of that, to show sincerity, the promised 100,000 dragon coins were still in count. Hence, it was settled then, and they all proceeded to depart. Meanwhile, he thought to himself that revealing Xiao's identity in front of strangers in the wilderness would only bring trouble, and therefore, he decided to make her wait until he could get the secret rewards, and then only summon her out. As they entered the secret realm, the system showed that its name was the Village of Lamentation and had a hard realm difficulty. The moment they entered, they quickly noticed that the village was too quiet as they could only hear their own voices, and there seemed to be no signs of life in the mist. Sunji looks at him and asks him if he was actually empty-handed without any equipment, and in response, he summons a blade which was called Ink Dragon Deer Antler Sword. After defeating 3 blood lions and triggering an advanced treasure map, he finally got the chance to replace his newbie cleaver. Sunji comments that that weapon looked extraordinary and asks him if he was just a newly transferred student even though he had thought he was a material hunter before. But then Kai states that it did not matter. They were just cooperating. However, if he had any ulterior motives, she had already planned to subdue him immediately. With that said, the group continues to move forward, fighting off against a horde of decaying zombies who were at level 15. Every member covered each other's back, and they showcased their abilities as they were able to take care of the zombies with ease, while Lu Fan simply observed them. A warrior, a rogue, and that knight guarding the teleportation gate, he admitted that the team composition was very reasonable, especially with Sun Ji, who was a level 28 warrior, about to advance to the 2nd class. Just then, Qin also charges up a spell, and she uses an attack named Holy Light Star Rain, which apparently gathers energy and unleashes starlight rains down, dealing holy damage to enemies while providing equivalent healing to allies. She absolutely obliterated the zombies in the area, and then explained to him that this was the characteristic of her class. The hidden class Holy Light Mage could perform both attacks and healing, but of course, the current damage was lower than that of mages and the healing was not as effective as priests. He was also a bit surprised to see another hidden class, and on top of that, her holy damage was very effective against the zombies. Just then, he sensed that an elite monster had been alerted, and judging by the sound, he guessed there were quite a few. And he was right, as all of a sudden, a group of bloodthirsty zombies of level 20 started to emerge. Sunji quickly instructs Kei to protect the young lady and the boy while he and Seojia stood their ground to hold the front lines. They both attacked the zombies with their sword, but then they soon realized they could not draw their weapons out of them. The zombies began to absorb the weapons, as it was one of their abilities called Corpse Poison, where any attack would inflict the target with corpse poison, causing continuous loss of life while healing itself. Lu Fan recognized what it was, but it required a priest purified to dispel, and Qin Q, as a holy light mage, could also not help them. Jia starts screaming for help, and Sunji tells him to just release his weapon. He runs up to him and pushes Jia back, while also asking Cad to come to the front and cover him against the zombies. However, Lu Fan steps up and tells him to let him handle this. A zombie charges towards him, and Sunji warns him to back off. However, he swings his blade at it and is easily able to kill it, leaving everyone stunned. He then retrieves Sunjae's sword from the zombie's corpse and hands it to him while reminding them that they have to keep moving forward. Confused, Sunji questions him just how high level he was exactly, since it was impossible for a newly transferred student to have such high attack power, while Qin rushes over to Jia to heal him. Lu Fan, on the other hand, tells them that he was a level 14 student, and that there was no need for him to lie to them about that because, after all, he came to the stone plain for the great exam practice. Hearing that, Qin realizes that he was a student from the same year as her and could not believe that a level 14 student actually had higher attack power than Sunji, whose level was 28. While she was lost in her thoughts, a zombie tries to attack her from behind, and Kai steps in between to protect her. But then, before they even realize, Lu Fan closes in on it in an instant and stabs it with his blade. Slamming it against a wall, he informs them that the level of zombies in the village would only get higher and higher. Therefore, he offers to fill the gap in the front row and asks if everyone was okay with it. Kin wonders if he could be the same person recently rumored in Shanghai City, but she puts it aside and agrees to count on him. She tells him that he and Sunji could lead the team in the front while she takes care of Jia and Kai would cover the rear. She also believes that the Mystic Realm Guardian should be somewhere in the village. He, on the other hand, asks her to just call him Lu Fan, and with that said, he proceeds to go deeper. After hearing his name, she recalls he was indeed the rumored hidden class Dragon Tamer that recently appeared, but she still could not believe it because if it was really him, the Dragon Tamer was supposed to be the weakest class. As they continue moving forward, they arrive at the village center of the Mystic Realm and are still facing off against a horde of zombies. He looks at Jia's condition and he knows that Kin's profession cannot remove the corpse poison from him as it only disappears after defeating the Mystic Realm Guardian. Hence they need to hurry up, otherwise Jia would surely die there as the corpse poison spreads, and he might even turn into a zombie. Kai cannot sense any trace of the Mystic Realm Guardian in the village, which just does not seem right. Meanwhile, a group of zombies is approaching Sunji from behind, and Jia tries to warn him, but then he suddenly collapses on the ground. However, before they can even focus on him, a huge creature suddenly appears in front of them. Its name is Iron Skin Zombie, and it is a level 20 monster, but above all, it is in fact the Mystic Realm Guardian. Lu Fan guesses that Jia's corpse poison must have worsened to the point where it could awaken Iron Skin zombies now, and with that in mind, he tells everyone to quickly defeat it as it might try to assimilate and absorb Jia. Sunji tries to attack it with his sword, but to his surprise, he cannot even scratch it, while Lu Fan quickly dashes towards it, knowing that if the corpse poison keeps attracting Iron Skin zombies, then there is no time to let them slowly attack. He manages to land a strike on it, but it then activates its Steel Skin skill, which allows it to enter an Iron Skin state and increases defense and endurance by 40%. To completely finish it off, he needs to land 2 more hits, but since they need to be faster, he activates his skill Dragon Blood Armorization. The zombie starts charging towards Kin and Jia, while Lu Fan also charges back, instructing Kin to use her holy spells with him, while Sunji protects Jia with Kai. He materializes a dragon claw in his hand using Dragon Blood Armorization, which is actually a special effect of the Ink Dragon Scale Sword, allowing the user to partially dragonize and increase dragonized power. Kin also charges up her Holy Starlight spell, and they both execute a combined attack which lands directly at the Iron Skin zombie. The Guardian started to disintegrate, and Sunji guessed that the Iron Skin zombie must rely on continuous fusion absorption to become enormous, while Lu Fan also added that its main body must be wrapped up in it. Meanwhile, Sunji also thought to himself that in the Kin family for so many years, he had seen all kinds of experts, but one look at him and he knew that this kid in front of him was definitely a hidden professional. As its body continued to disintegrate, the main zombie appeared from within, and Lu Fan wasted absolutely no time and attacked it head-on using his dragon claw, completely obliterating it. Others simply could not believe that the Guardian of the Hidden Realm was actually defeated, while Kin also wondered who exactly he was, as she had never seen such a powerful skill that could easily take down a level 20 boss. After killing the final boss, their reward, which was an iron-skinned zombie treasure chest of level 20, appeared in front of them. Kin stood by her word, stating that they would abide by the agreement and would distribute the reward according to the rules. On top of that, before they were not familiar with each other, and they all underestimated Lu, so for that, she apologizes to him. Sunji also comments that he definitely had the ability to solo this hidden realm, and now it just seemed like they were the ones tagging along. Kin opened up the chest, but the moment she did, everyone was left a bit underwhelmed seeing what was inside, as it only contained some potions and accessories which seemed quite shabby. But more importantly, Kin quickly asks Sunji to give Jia the antidote potion to drink, while Lu kept thinking that there was no way a level 20 fortuitous realm would only have rewards of this quality. Nonetheless, Kin gives him his share of the reward, and he was actually glad to see that the people of the Kin family really do follow the rules. After they were done dividing the rewards, Kin found it very strange that even though they defeated the boss, they still could not see the portal. Kai suggests they should look around, but then suddenly, Lu Fan tells them that they should not wander around just yet. He opened up the status screen and learned that the Iron Skin zombie was not the final boss. Sunji asks him if he had a new discovery, but then Kin also states that as a holy light mage, she could indeed sense a dark presence as well, and as they stood in front of the lakeside of the Village of Grief, she felt it was nearby. Since she said so, everyone believed her. However, the realm was not really that big, and they guessed they might have missed something when they first entered the village. Little did they know, something was lurking around deep inside the lake right in front of them. It finally awakens, and Lu Fan immediately felt that something was coming. Huge tentacles began to appear from the lake, and even the status window had no information about what that was. Sun Ji guessed that this should be the final boss Lu Fan was talking about, and he immediately instructed everyone to take cover behind the barricade while he tried facing off against the creature on his own. But he quickly got overpowered and pushed back. The tentacles then shifted their attention to Qin and were just about to attack her. But then Lu Fan quickly came in and moved her out of the way. Kai asks her if she was okay when suddenly, the creature's entire body appears out of the lake, and it turns out it was a boss of level 25 named Grieving Spectre.